Tonight, we slip beneath warm water and follow a shape that has been moving through these seas for longer than we have words to describe. Hello there, and welcome to deep sea slumber. There is an animal in the ocean that carries the outline of deep time. It moves without hurry through warm shallows and open currents, past reef edges bright with fish, through dark water lit only by the surface above. It has watched continents shift. It swam through seas that no human eye ever saw. And yet, here it is, still present, still crossing the same blue distances, still returning to shores it has always known. The sea turtle is not a relic. It is a living thing, unhurried and continuous, connecting the world we inhabit to worlds we can barely imagine. There are 7 of them, 7 species carrying this ancient form through modern oceans. The leatherback, vast and strange, diving deeper than any turtle should. The green turtle, grazing slow meadows of seagrass in warm, clear shallows. The hawksbill, narrow-beaked, moving through reef corridors with a quiet precision. The loggerhead, powerful and patient, crushing hard-shelled prey with jaws built for exactly that task. The olive ridley and the Kemp's ridley, smaller, coastal, arriving at certain beaches in such numbers that the shore itself seems to move. And the flatback, rarely seen, living its life close to the coasts of a single continent. Each one different. Each one carrying the same essential shape, that ancient, unmistakable silhouette. What makes a sea turtle remarkable is not any single thing. It is the combination. A reptile that breathes air, living almost entirely at sea. A creature that belongs to the ocean in every movement of its body, yet must return to land to continue. It does not fully belong to either world, and somehow, across millions of years, that has been enough, more than enough. The sea turtle has outlasted nearly everything that once shared its world, not by dominating, not by speed or aggression, but by a kind of patient, precise persistence that is difficult to name and easy to feel. Tonight, we will travel through that life slowly. We will move through the physics of a body built for water, through journeys that cross entire ocean basins, through a childhood spent hidden in open sea. We will drift through feeding grounds and moonlit beaches, through the question of what an animal knows without language, and through the long, deep span of time that a single turtle's life can represent. There is much to discover here, and none of it needs to be rushed. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here, too, one sleepy soul at a time. Before we begin, let your body settle into whatever is holding you. Feel your shoulders soften, not forced down, just released. Let them find their natural weight. Take one slow breath, and as you breathe out, allow your chest to ease. There is nothing required of you tonight, nowhere to be. We are not going anywhere quickly. We are moving the way a sea turtle moves, unhurried, carried by something larger than effort, drifting gently into deeper water. Let's begin. If a sea turtle seems calm from a distance, it is partly because so much of its brilliance is hidden inside the shape itself. A sea turtle cannot breathe underwater. It has lungs, not gills. It surfaces, opens its mouth or nostrils, and takes air the way you do, the way every mammal does, the way every bird does. And then it returns to a world that will not give it another breath for a very long time. That is the central fact of its existence. A reptile, wholly committed to the sea, carrying the one thing the sea cannot provide. What makes this so remarkable is not the limitation. It is how thoroughly the body has answered it. The shell of a sea turtle is not the domed, rounded shape of a land tortoise. It is low and tapered. It narrows at the front and widens slightly at the rear, then draws in again. The cross-section, if you could see it from the front, is more oval than circular, built to let water pass around it rather than push against it. Hydrodynamics is not a strategy a turtle chose. It is something evolution carved into the bone over millions of years, testing every variation against the resistance of moving water, keeping the shapes that survived. The result is a body that slips forward through the ocean the way a stone skips across a surface, not fighting the medium, but cooperating with it. And yet the shell is still a shell. It is still bone covered in plates, a structure inherited from ancestors who lived on land. The sea turtle did not invent a new body. It revised an old one. That distinction matters. This is not a creature perfectly designed for the ocean. It is a creature that came from somewhere else and found a way to stay. The foreflippers make this clearer still. They are long. Proportionally, they are among the longest limbs relative to body size of any living reptile. A large leatherback can have flippers that span nearly 3 meters from tip to tip. These are not paddles in the way a canoe paddle is a paddle. Something you push water with and pull back. A sea turtle's foreflippers move in a continuous arc, more like wings than oars. The motion is a slow, powerful sweep, down and back, then forward again, generating lift through the water the same way a bird's wing generates lift through air. They are flying, slowly, in a medium 800 times denser than air. That is what the stroke looks like when you watch it from below. Not swimming exactly, but a patient, measured flight. The rear flippers do something different. They are smaller and serve mostly as rudders, adjusting course, stabilizing the body during turns. A sea turtle steers more than it kicks. The engine is in the front, and the engine runs on long, slow revolutions rather than frantic bursts. That is why sea turtles are not fast in the way a fish is fast. A startled fish can accelerate in a fraction of a second, switching from stillness to speed almost instantaneously. A sea turtle builds momentum gradually and sustains it. Cruising speeds for most species fall between 1 and 3 kilometers per hour. The leatherback, largest and most pelagic, can push faster when it needs to. Brief surges, not sustained racing. The body is built for distance, not sprint. For crossing ocean basins, not escaping a single predator in a single moment. There is something worth sitting with in that. A body optimized for the long journey rather than the short escape. A design that trades quickness for endurance. In evolutionary terms, this is a different answer to the problem of survival. One that says, I will not outrun what threatens me. I will outlast it. I will be somewhere else before it becomes a problem. Now consider the eyes. Sea turtles have salt glands located near their eyes. When a sea turtle comes ashore to nest, it appears to cry. Large, thick tears rolling down its face in the darkness. These are not tears of grief or effort. They are the body expelling excess salt continuously, the way a kidney filters waste. The ocean is full of salt. Drinking seawater, absorbing it through food and skin, the turtle accumulates more salt than its kidneys alone can process. The glands near the eyes are the solution. They concentrate salt and release it, keeping the turtle's internal chemistry stable in an environment that would otherwise overwhelm it. On land, those tears are visible. In the water, they dissolve immediately and go unnoticed. The glands work constantly, on land and sea alike. What looks like weeping is simply maintenance, the body doing its quiet accounting, keeping the numbers right. This is one of the more elegant contradictions the sea turtle carries. An animal that evolved on land, still running a system built for land chemistry, now operating in an environment that demands a new layer of regulation. Rather than replacing the old system, evolution added to it. The kidneys remain. The glands were added alongside them. Two systems working together, solving a problem the body was not originally built to face. Even at the level of chemistry, the sea turtle is a revision rather than a reinvention. And somehow that makes it more interesting, not less. The heart slows during a dive, not slightly, dramatically. A sea turtle resting at the surface might have a heart rate of around 20 to 30 beats per minute, which is already slow by most standards. During a long dive, that rate can drop to 1 beat every 9 minutes. 9 minutes between heartbeats. The body is not in distress. It is conserving. It is rationing the oxygen held in the blood and muscles, parceling it out across the duration of the dive with a precision that no conscious effort could achieve. The body does this automatically, without instruction, as a reflex shaped by deep time. The blood itself plays a role. Sea turtle blood can carry more oxygen per unit volume than the blood of most land reptiles. The muscles contain higher concentrations of myoglobin, the protein that stores oxygen in tissue, the same protein that makes the flesh of diving animals darker than those that stay near the surface. The body is a storage system as much as a living creature. It fills at the surface and empties slowly below. A healthy sea turtle can remain submerged for 4 to 7 hours while resting. Leatherbacks have been recorded at depths exceeding 1,000 meters. Most dives in daily life are shallower and shorter. A few minutes to reach a feeding area, 20 minutes to rest on the seafloor, a brief rise to breathe and descend again. But the capacity for long, deep submersion is always there, banked and available, like a reserve that rarely needs to be fully drawn upon. What this means, practically, is that a sea turtle lives in a rhythm almost nothing like our own. Surface, breathe, descend, hold, return, surface again, repeat across hours and days and decades. The breath is not a constant background condition, the way it is for us, something that happens without thought, every few seconds, always available. For a sea turtle, the breath is an event, a punctuation mark in a long sentence of underwater time. Everything between one breath and the next is the actual life. That reframing is worth staying with for a moment. We tend to think of air as the given and water as the exception, the place you visit briefly and return from. For a sea turtle, it is almost the inverse. The water is the given, the surface is the exception. The long, dark, quiet stretch of a dive is where the turtle actually lives. The moment of breathing is the interruption. And the body is built to make that interruption as rare as it needs to be, and no rarer. There is no waste in this system, no excess capacity held in reserve for comfort. The oxygen runs almost to its limit on a long dive, and then the turtle surfaces. Not panicked, not gasping, but simply returning, the way you return from a long thought, unhurried, complete. The shell plays one more role worth noting. It is not just armor and hydrodynamics. The curved interior of the shell, combined with the large lung capacity beneath it, means that a sea turtle can hold a significant volume of air for its body size. The lungs are positioned near the top of the shell, where they assist with buoyancy as well as breathing. A turtle can adjust its position in the water column partly by controlling how much air it holds and how it distributes its weight. It is not a simple system. Bone and air and muscle and salt and blood all working in relation to each other, all tuned to the same quiet purpose. A body full of contradictions, lungs in the ocean, tears on a dry beach, a heartbeat that slows to almost nothing and recovers without effort, foreflippers that fly through water, a shell that remembers land. And yet, none of it feels contradictory when you watch one move. It feels resolved. It feels like a question that has already been answered long before you thought to ask it. The water receives the turtle the way the turtle receives the water, without resistance, without ceremony, as if this arrangement has always been obvious and only needed time to become visible. The shape continues forward. The flippers complete their arc. The surface is somewhere above, patient and available whenever it is needed. And once the body has solved the problem of the sea, another mystery begins. Not how to move through water, but how to know where in the world you are. A female green turtle leaves her feeding ground off the coast of Brazil. She has grazed seagrass in the same shallow waters for years, moving slowly through warm shallows, unhurried. But something shifts. A change in hormone, in temperature, in the slow turn of season, and she begins to swim. Not toward food, away from it. She swims northeast into open ocean, leaving the coast behind. She swims for weeks. She does not stop to rest on any shore. She is heading for a place she has not seen in years, a place that exists as a small green peak of volcanic rock rising from the mid-Atlantic, surrounded by more than 1,000 miles of open sea in every direction. She is heading for Ascension Island, and she will find it. That is not a metaphor, it is what happens. The distance from the feeding grounds of Brazil to Ascension Island is roughly 2,200 kilometers. The island itself is about 90 square kilometers, a small, specific, improbable target in the middle of an enormous ocean. And yet, green turtles make this crossing, generation after generation, arriving at the same beaches where they were born, nesting and returning. The round trip is more than 4,000 kilometers. They complete it in open water, with no landmarks visible above the surface, with no compass, with no map. They arrive. What makes this possible is something the turtle carries inside its own body. The Earth is wrapped in a magnetic field, invisible lines of force that run from pole to pole, varying in angle and intensity at every point on the planet. Humans have instruments to read this field. Sea turtles have something older. Embedded in their tissue, possibly in the brain, possibly in the bones, are structures sensitive to magnetic information. A turtle moving through open ocean is not lost. It is reading a field that covers the entire planet. It can sense both the inclination of that field, the angle at which magnetic lines dip toward the surface, and its intensity, how strong the pull is at any given place. Together, those two readings create something like a coordinate, not a map, something more fundamental, a felt sense of where on Earth you are. That is why they can find a single island in the middle of an ocean. They are not guessing. They are navigating with a sense we do not share, reading information that has always been there, invisible to us, available to them for millions of years. And the precision is extraordinary. Studies tracking loggerhead turtles in the Atlantic have shown that when they drift off course, carried by currents, pushed by storms, they correct, they turn. They adjust their heading with a quiet accuracy that suggests something more than general orientation, something closer to knowing. Not in the way we know a city by its streets, in a deeper way, the way a body knows how to breathe. Loggerheads born on the beaches of Florida enter the Atlantic and begin a migration that may last more than a decade. Juvenile loggerheads follow the current systems of the North Atlantic Gyre, a vast, slow, circular river in the open ocean, traveling across to the Mediterranean, down along the coasts of Europe and Africa, and eventually back again. They ride the current like a long, wide road. When they grow, when they are large enough to survive coastal waters, they leave the gyre and return to the shallow feeding grounds of the Western Atlantic. The whole loop is thousands of kilometers. They complete it largely alone, largely unseen, navigating through currents and magnetic fields and water temperatures that shift with season and depth. There is something about the scale of this that takes a moment to settle. The ocean does not look like a road. It looks like itself, vast, blue, without edges that a human eye can follow. And yet, within it, there are structures. There are rivers of warm water moving through cold. There are upwellings of nutrients rising from the deep. There are gyres, those slow circular systems that carry heat and life across entire ocean basins. A turtle is not moving through featureless water. It is moving through a world full of information. Temperature, salinity, the direction of current, the angle of the magnetic field. And it is reading all of it at once, continuously, in a way that requires no thought in the way we mean thought. It is built into the body. It is what the body does. That is perhaps the most quietly astonishing part. The navigation is not effortful. It is not a problem the turtle is solving. It is simply what it is to be a turtle, moving through a world it has always been able to read. Leatherbacks take this further still. They are the largest of the living sea turtles, a fact that will come more fully into view later. And their migrations are among the longest of any reptile on Earth. Leatherbacks nesting on beaches in the eastern Pacific travel west and south into the open ocean, following jellyfish blooms across thousands of kilometers of open water. They have been tracked from nesting beaches in Indonesia all the way to the foraging grounds off the coast of Oregon and California. A journey of more than 20,000 kilometers. One way. They do this and then return and do it again. Their route is not fixed to a coastline. They do not hug the shore. They move through the open Pacific, one of the largest and deepest bodies of water on the planet, guided by senses we are still working to fully understand. They follow prey. Yes, the cold, productive waters of the North Pacific hold the jellyfish they need. But they find those waters without having seen a map, without having been shown the way. The route is, in some sense, inherited, carried in the body before the turtle has ever swum a single kilometer. This is what scientists call natal homing, the tendency of sea turtles to return as adults to the beach where they were born. The fidelity is remarkable. Female loggerheads, green turtles, hawksbills and leatherbacks all show it. They may range across ocean basins for years, decades, and then return. Not just to the same general region, but often to within a few kilometers of their birth beach, sometimes to the very stretch of sand. The magnetic signature of a specific beach, imprinted in the nervous system of a hatchling during its first journey to the sea, appears to function as a kind of address, one that can be held for 30 years. Think about what that means. A hatchling turtle, a few grams of living tissue, emerges from sand and crawls toward the ocean. It enters the water and begins to swim. And in that first crossing, that first contact with the magnetic field of a specific place on a specific stretch of coast, something is recorded, not in memory exactly, deeper than memory, in the body itself. And decades later, after years in the open ocean, after crossing and recrossing entire ocean basins, that signal is still there, still readable. The turtle finds its way back. That is not metaphor, that is biology, and it sits at the edge of what we fully understand. There is also something important about what the turtle does not do. It does not hurry. Migration is not a sprint. A female green turtle crossing the Atlantic may take 2 months. She surfaces to breathe, rests in the water column, adjusts her course, continues. She's not racing against anything. She is simply going, one stroke at a time, day after day, through the same water that holds everything else, the fish, the currents, the light falling from the surface, moving toward a place she has not seen in years that she will find. And when she arrives, she does not rest long. She will nest and return to the sea and begin the crossing back. The feeding grounds are waiting. There is seagrass to eat, warmth to absorb, the slow work of recovery before the next nesting season, which may come 2, 3, or 5 years later. The journey will begin again. What this means, ecologically, is that sea turtles are not just inhabitants of a single place. They are connections between places. A leatherback nesting in the tropics and feeding in cold northern waters is carrying energy in the form of fat, tissue, eggs, across an enormous gradient. A green turtle grazing seagrass in one part of the ocean and nesting in another is moving nutrients between ecosystems that would otherwise not be directly linked. The turtle's body is a kind of bridge. Its migration is not just a personal journey. It is part of how the ocean moves things around. That is what the word migration sometimes obscures. We think of it as going and coming back. But it is also a function, a role in a system much larger than any individual animal. The turtle moves, and the world is slightly different because it moved. There is one more thing worth sitting with. The routes these turtles follow are not new. They are old, very old. The magnetic signatures of nesting beaches, the current systems of ocean gyres, the evolved sensitivity to Earth's field. These were not invented recently. Sea turtles have been migrating for tens of millions of years. The routes have changed as continents drifted and ocean basins opened and closed, but the behavior has persisted. Generation after generation, the inherited knowledge of where to go has been passed through bodies rather than language, encoded not in culture, but in flesh. Somewhere in the long history of this animal, a turtle swam toward a beach it had never seen, only felt, and arrived. And the pattern held, and it holds still. The ocean is very large. The turtle is patient. And somehow, across all that distance, across all that dark water, the animal finds exactly where it is, going. It settles toward the beach in the dark. It has been swimming for weeks. It does not know in any way we could call knowing that it has done something extraordinary. It simply arrives. It has always been arriving, and now, quietly, it is here. Even more astonishing than a turtle's long return is the fact that its story begins with almost unimaginable smallness. A loggerhead hatchling weighs roughly 20 grams. That is the weight of 4 nickels. And from a beach in Florida or the Yucatan or the shores of the Mediterranean, one of these animals will enter the Atlantic Ocean and vanish from human sight for years. Not hours, not weeks, years. For most of the 20th century, scientists simply did not know where young sea turtles went. They hatched, entered the surf, and disappeared. Then, eventually, juveniles would reappear in coastal feeding grounds, larger, older, already shaped by experiences no one had witnessed. The gap between hatchling and juvenile had a name before it had an explanation. Researchers called it the lost years. That phrase carries something honest in it. Not lost to the turtle, lost to us. The hatchling does not experience its early life as hidden. It experiences the surface of the sea, the warmth of sunlit water, the texture of floating weed, the small creatures that cling to debris. It is living fully in a world that simply did not accommodate human observation. The mystery was always ours. The life was always the turtle's. What science eventually pieced together, slowly through tagging programs and drift modeling and satellite technology, was this. Young sea turtles do not hide. They drift. They enter systems of current that carry them far out into open ocean, and they ride those systems for years, growing in the shelter of floating habitat, mostly invisible to any shore-bound eye. The North Atlantic subtropical gyre is a slow clockwise rotation of warm surface water. It circles continuously from the Gulf Stream up the eastern seaboard of North America, across toward Europe, down along the African coast, and back west again. Loggerhead hatchlings from Florida beaches enter this system and are carried around it. The journey takes roughly 5 to 10 years. When they return to coastal waters, they are no longer hatchlings. They are juveniles, already large enough to forage independently, already carrying the magnetic map that will eventually guide them home to nest. The gyre did not evolve for turtles. Turtles evolved to use it. That is a distinction worth sitting with. The current is indifferent. It moves because of wind and temperature and the rotation of the earth. A hatchling turtle is simply small enough and warm water seeking enough and lucky enough to be born in a place where entering the surf means entering a conveyor that will carry it through years of open ocean without requiring it to navigate at all. The ocean becomes a nursery, not by intention, but by geometry. Within that drifting world, there is structure. Sargassum is a genus of brown, free-floating seaweed that accumulates in the Atlantic along the edges of currents, forming long windrows and dense mats of tangled vegetation. These are called weed lines, or sargasso, and they are among the most productive and biodiverse habitats in the open ocean. Small fish shelter in them. Invertebrates colonize them. Predators circle beneath them, and young loggerheads gather there. The sargassum offers several things at once. It offers physical shelter. A hatchling can tuck beneath floating weed and become nearly invisible from above. It offers warmth, since the mats trap solar heat at the surface. And it offers food. The small crabs, shrimp, barnacles, and fish eggs that live within sargassum are exactly the right size for a young turtle's mouth. Imagine a raft of floating weed, maybe 3 meters across, rocking gently in open Atlantic. Beneath it, 1 or 2 hatchlings no bigger than your palm, resting in the shade. Around them, a whole small world of clinging, swimming, drifting creatures. The ocean is thousands of meters deep beneath them. The nearest coast is hundreds of kilometers away, and yet the hatchlings are not in open water. They are in a neighborhood, a small, impermanent, floating neighborhood that moves with the current, reforms, breaks apart, reforms again. That is the texture of the lost years, not emptiness, smallness within vastness. Different species begin this early chapter differently. Leatherback hatchlings, born larger than most other sea turtle species at hatching, enter cold-tolerant bodies from the start. They are bound for open ocean and deep water relatively quickly. Hawksbill hatchlings, by contrast, tend to settle into shallow reef and coastal habitats earlier in life, their narrow beaks already suited for probing coral. Green turtle hatchlings follow patterns somewhere between the two, drifting through open water in early life, then gradually recruiting into seagrass beds and algae-rich coastal zones as they grow. Each species enters the same ocean and finds a different version of it. This is one of the things that makes sea turtle biology so difficult to study in full. There is no single early life. There are 7 species, each with its own geography, its own timing, its own set of habitats used at different sizes. What a loggerhead needs at 3 months and what a hawksbill needs at the same age are not the same thing. The ocean that receives them is the same ocean, but the part of it each species inhabits is different. Science uncovered the lost years through accumulation. Early tagging studies attached small numbered tags to hatchlings and waited. Some tags were recovered years later on turtles found far away. Drift models, borrowed from oceanography, predicted where currents would carry a small buoyant object released from a given beach. Satellite transmitters, eventually small enough to attach to juvenile turtles without burdening them, began sending back locations from open ocean. Each method added something. None was complete on its own. The picture assembled slowly, the way most true pictures do. Not from a single clear moment, but from many partial views that gradually resolved into something coherent. What emerged was both simpler and stranger than expected. Simpler because the mechanism was not elaborate. Hatchlings swim away from the beach, enter the current, and float. Stranger because the scale of what that floating involves turned out to be enormous. A turtle born on a Florida beach might be off the coast of Portugal within 2 years. It might circle back to the Caribbean before it has grown large enough to forage in seagrass. All of that in a body that weighed 20 grams at the start. There is something in the scale of this that resists easy comprehension. We understand childhood as a bounded thing, a period of nearness, protection, the gradual expansion of a known world. A hatchling sea turtle's childhood is the inverse. It begins with immediate immensity. The very first day of life involves crossing surf, entering open water, swimming away from the only solid ground the animal has ever known. And then the ocean simply takes over. The hatchling does not choose the gyre. It does not navigate towards sargassum. It responds to warmth, to light, to the pull of the current, and the current does the rest. There is something almost restful in that image. A very small animal buoyed by warm water, carried by a system far larger than itself, finding food and shelter in the structures that happen to gather where the currents flow. Survival here is not about strength, it is about fit. A hatchling fits the surface layer of warm Atlantic water the way a seed fits a particular soil. The conditions receive it. The conditions shape it. The animal that eventually emerges from years of open ocean drifting is different from the one that entered the surf. Larger, more experienced, carrying in its nervous system and its tissues the record of a childhood spent in moving borderless space. That record is not written in language. It is written in the body, in the calibration of the magnetic sense refined over years of moving through the field, in the digestive system adapted to the prey available in open water, in the immune system exposed to the particular pathogens of pelagic life. The lost years are an education, even if no one was watching. What the turtle knows when it arrives in a coastal seagrass bed years after hatching is not nothing. It is the accumulated knowledge of an ocean crossed, not consciously held, not retrievable as memory in the way we use the word, but present nonetheless in every system of the animal's body. There is a kind of wisdom in that, not the wisdom of reflection, the wisdom of having been shaped by something vast. The lost years are no longer entirely lost to science. Researchers can now follow individual turtles through portions of their early lives, can model the currents that carry them, can estimate where a given cohort of hatchlings likely spent their first years based on the beach where they were born and the season of their hatching. The mystery has narrowed, but it has not closed entirely. There are still gaps, still species whose early life histories are poorly understood, still individual turtles whose paths through the open ocean remain untracked, untagged, unwitnessed by any human eye. And perhaps that is not only a gap in knowledge. Perhaps it is also something to hold gently, the fact that there are still chapters of a life being lived fully and completely in places where no one is watching. The hatchling in the sargassum does not require an audience. It does not require documentation. It is simply there, in the warm surface water, in the floating weed, doing what it has always done. Being small, being alive, being carried by a world that is very, very large. That is enough. It has always been enough. The ocean does not need us to witness it in order to continue. The turtles do not need us to understand them in order to grow. They drift, and the current carries them, and years pass in the open blue. And the more you look at a sea turtle, the more it seems to belong not just to one beach or one season, but to a much larger measure of time. The leatherback is the largest turtle alive. It is, in fact, the largest reptile alive after the great crocodilians. A big leatherback can reach 6 feet in length and weigh over 2,000 pounds. That number sits quietly for a moment before it becomes real. 2,000 pounds of turtle, moving through open ocean, following jellyfish across the North Atlantic, the Pacific, the Southern Sea. This is not a creature of the shallows. It is a creature of the deep, cold, open water, and its body is built for distances and pressures that no other turtle can manage. What makes the leatherback so different from its relatives is not just size, it is construction. Where other sea turtles have a hard, scute-covered shell, the leatherback's back is a mosaic of tiny bone fragments embedded in thick, rubbery skin. The shell is not gone. It is distributed, broken into thousands of small pieces held together in a flexible, oil-soaked matrix. It moves with the animal rather than around it. That is a different solution to the same old problem of being a turtle. Not armor, something more like a hull. And that hull carries the leatherbacks somewhere no other turtle goes. Leatherbacks dive deeply. A recorded dive reached over 4,000 feet, more than 1,200 meters below the surface, into water so cold and dark it has almost nothing in common with the warm coastal shallows where other sea turtles spend their lives. At that depth, the pressure is immense. The flexible shell compresses rather than shattering. The oil-soaked tissue insulates. The body slows. 4,000 feet is deeper than most submarines are rated to travel. A turtle reached it in pursuit of jellyfish. There is something in that worth holding. The leatherback did not evolve for spectacle. It evolved for jellyfish, which drift at depth, which are mostly water, which offer very little nutrition per mouthful. To sustain a 2,000-pound body on jellyfish requires eating enormous quantities, which requires following them wherever they go, which means going deep and cold and dark. The extraordinary capacity of the leatherback is, in a sense, a response to an unimpressive food source. Greatness arrived at by following something small. Cold water presents a problem for a reptile. Reptiles are ectothermic. They depend on external heat to regulate body temperature. Cold water should slow them, cool their blood, reduce their capacity to move and hunt. Yet leatherbacks swim through water near freezing and remain functional. They have found a way around one of the oldest constraints of reptilian life. The mechanism is called gigantothermy. A large body loses heat more slowly than a small one. The ratio of surface area to volume works in favor of the massive. The leatherback generates some heat through the constant work of its enormous muscles, and its sheer bulk holds that heat against the cold. A network of blood vessels near the skin, a countercurrent heat exchange system, keeps warm blood from the core moving past cold blood returning from the extremities, transferring heat rather than losing it. In other words, the leatherback is not quite warm-blooded, but it is not quite cold-blooded either. It occupies a middle space that most reptiles never reach. Its body temperature in frigid North Atlantic water stays measurably warmer than the water surrounding it. This is unusual. It is, by some measures, a partial solution to a problem that mammals solved fully and most reptiles never approached. The leatherback found its own answer at its own scale, in its own time. Life does not always solve problems the same way twice. The other species carry their own records. The loggerhead has the largest head of any sea turtle, proportionally, built around jaw muscles powerful enough to crush conchs, whelks, horseshoe crabs, and heavily armored prey that other animals cannot access. That head is not just large. It is a tool, an investment in bone and muscle that pays off in a food source almost no competitor can exploit. The hawksbill has the narrowest beak, curved and pointed, designed to reach into coral crevices and extract the sponges that grow there. Sponges are toxic to most animals. The hawksbill is one of very few creatures that can eat them in quantity. Its tissues absorb those toxins, which makes the hawksbill itself toxic to many predators. A defense built not from speed or armor, but from diet. What you eat can become what protects you. The hawksbill is a quiet example of how thoroughly ecology and anatomy can intertwine. Then there is age. Sea turtles live for a long time. The commonly cited figure is somewhere between 70 and 80 years for many species, though some estimates push past a century. The honest answer is that we do not know with certainty, because sea turtles have been under careful scientific observation for less time than they live. We have not yet watched one complete its life. That is a strange position to be in. The animal may outlive the study. What we do know is that sea turtles are slow to mature. A green turtle does not reach sexual maturity until somewhere between 20 and 50 years of age, depending on the individual and the conditions it has lived through. A loggerhead may take 30 years or more, a leatherback somewhat less, perhaps 15 to 20. But even the fastest maturing sea turtle takes longer to reach adulthood than a human child takes to finish school. They spend those years eating, growing, migrating, navigating, building the body and the accumulated experience that will eventually allow them to reproduce. And then they may reproduce for decades. A female that first nests at 30 may still be nesting at 70. That is 40 years of reproductive life. The implications are patient and enormous. A single female, across her reproductive years, may lay thousands of eggs. Most of those hatchlings will not survive, but a few will. And those few carry forward something that has been tested and refined across millions of years of selection. Not just in the genome, but in the roots, the beaches, the timing, the accumulated weight of everything the lineage has learned. It is not fast. It was never meant to be fast. There is something almost geological about a sea turtle's life. Geologists measure time in strata, layers of rock that record the passage of millions of years in compressed silence. A sea turtle's life is something like that. Each year, a layer. Each migration, another mark. The animal that returns to a beach at 50 has carried 50 years of ocean inside it. 50 years of currents and feeding grounds and storms and seasons. All of it held in a body that looks, from a distance, very much like the body that first entered the water. Resilience is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like simply continuing. Sea turtles have survived the mass extinction that ended the non-avian dinosaurs. They have survived the opening and closing of ocean basins, the rise and fall of sea levels, the slow drift of the continents that reshaped every coastline they had ever known. They have survived ice ages that reorganized the entire thermal structure of the ocean. And they have arrived here, in the present, still following the same routes, still returning to the same beaches, still diving to the same depths. There is no guarantee in that. It is not proof of invincibility, but it is a record of duration that is very difficult to fully absorb. The leatherback diving through cold, dark water tonight is doing something its ancestors were doing before the Himalayas reached their current height, before the Amazon basin filled with river, before the ice sheets of the Pleistocene advanced and retreated and advanced again. The shape has persisted. The behavior has persisted. Something essential has come forward through all of that time, generation by generation, across extinctions and transformations that ended most lineages entirely. What does it mean to be that old, as a kind of creature? Not as an individual, but as a form, a solution to the problem of living? The leatherback does not know its own age. It does not carry the weight of its lineage consciously. It simply continues, doing what the lineage has always done, in the water that has always been there. And yet, the fact of its continuation changes how the water feels. Knowing that a shape this ancient is still moving through the same dark ocean it has always moved through makes the ocean feel deeper, not in meters, in time. The leatherback surfaces somewhere in the North Atlantic tonight. It breathes. The air is cold. The water is colder. It dives again, down into the dark, following something small and drifting and barely luminous. Its body holds its warmth against the sea. Its heart slows. Its huge forelimbs pull it forward in long, unhurried strokes. It does not know it is ancient. It does not know it is a record holder, a survivor, an object of human study and wonder and concern. It knows only the direction, the depth, the faint pull of something worth following. That is enough. It has always been enough. The surface closes over it, and the sea is still again. And somewhere far below, in the cold and the dark, the oldest kind of turtle alive continues its patient, unhurried work. But an ancient body is only half the story. What matters just as much is the kind of work that body does in the living sea. Each of the 7 species of sea turtle feeds differently, not just in what it eats, but in where it goes, how it moves through that place, and what it leaves behind when it is finished. Feeding, for a sea turtle, is not simply a matter of survival. It is a relationship with a habitat, with a food source, with an entire ecosystem that has been shaped in part by the turtle's presence over millions of years. That relationship is worth following slowly. The green turtle is a grazer. It is one of the few large marine animals that feeds almost entirely on plants, specifically on seagrass and algae, the low-growing meadows that spread across sandy sea floors in warm, shallow coastal waters. A green turtle will return to the same seagrass bed repeatedly, cropping the blades with a beak that is slightly serrated, taking off the tips and moving on, not stripping the whole plant, just trimming. This is not random. It is, in its own quiet way, a form of cultivation. When seagrass is cropped regularly and not left to grow tall and dense, it stays young, green, and nutritious. Old seagrass accumulates sediment and decays. It becomes habitat for organisms that crowd out the new growth. A green turtle, by returning to graze the same patches over and over, keeps those meadows in a kind of managed youth. More productive, more oxygenated, more available to the small creatures that shelter and feed within them. In other words, the turtle does not simply eat the meadow, it tends it. When green turtle populations declined through the 20th century, seagrass beds in some regions began to change. They grew denser and older, accumulated more dead matter, and became less hospitable to the fish, invertebrates, and other animals that depended on them. The turtles had been doing work that no one had noticed until the work stopped. That is often how ecological roles are discovered, not by watching the animal, but by watching what happens in its absence. A green turtle feeding is a patient thing to witness. It moves slowly along the bottom, pausing, biting, drifting forward, pausing again. There is no urgency in it. The meadow is wide and the turtle has time. It seems almost contemplative, grazing through shafts of shallow light, the seagrass bending gently around it. The hawksbill feeds in a very different place. Its name comes from its beak, narrow, curved, slightly hooked at the tip, shaped in a way that allows it to reach into crevices in coral reef structure. What it is reaching for most of the time, is sponge. Sponges are abundant on coral reefs, and most animals cannot eat them. They contain silica spicules, tiny structural needles, and a range of chemical compounds that make them unpalatable or even toxic to most reef fish and invertebrates. The hawksbill has evolved a tolerance for these compounds that is still not fully understood. It can consume sponges that would sicken other animals, digesting them and moving through the reef in a way that almost no other species can. This matters enormously to the reef. Sponges, left unchecked, can overgrow coral. They compete for space, for surface area, for the light and water flow that coral polyps need. A healthy hawksbill population keeps sponge growth in check, preventing any single species from dominating the reef structure and reducing the diversity of the whole community. The hawksbill, by feeding where nothing else can, holds open a kind of balance that would otherwise tip. It moves through the reef with great precision, not the slow drift of the green turtle over open sand, but something more deliberate, navigating between coral heads, pausing at a crevice, working its beak into a gap, pulling. It is focused work. The reef is complex, and the hawksbill knows how to read it, finding food in the architecture of the structure itself. When hawksbill numbers fall, that architecture changes. Sponges expand. Coral loses ground. The reef becomes something slightly different, slightly less varied. One species, quietly doing its particular work, was holding more in balance than it appeared. The loggerhead does not graze meadows or navigate reef crevices. It hunts on the seafloor, in coastal waters, on the continental shelf, in sandy or rocky shallows, and what it hunts is hard. Crabs, conchs, whelks, clams, sea urchins, barnacles. Animals with shells, with armor, with thick calcified exteriors that would defeat most predators entirely. The loggerhead's jaw is massive. Its head is large relative to its body, built around the muscles required to generate an extraordinary crushing force. It can break open a conch the way another animal might crack a nut. Not by finesse, but by the simple application of tremendous pressure, applied precisely by a body that has been shaped over millions of years to do exactly this. That jaw does more than feed one turtle. It processes food that would otherwise be unavailable to the system. The crushed remains of a conch or a crab release nutrients back into the water column and onto the seafloor. The loggerhead moves through its habitat like a slow, deliberate converter, taking in what is locked inside hard shells and releasing it in forms that other animals can use. There is something almost mechanical about it, and yet the animal is entirely alive in its movements, settling onto the bottom, investigating with its nose, pressing down with that enormous head, the shell giving way, then moving on, unhurried, to the next. The leatherback is different from all of them in almost every way that matters. It lives in open water. It dives deep. It travels farther than any other sea turtle and tolerates colder water than any other reptile of its kind. And what it eats, almost exclusively, is jellyfish. Jellyfish are not an obvious food source. They are mostly water. Their caloric density is extraordinarily low. A single jellyfish offers very little energy relative to its size. To sustain a leatherback, which can weigh 600 kilograms or more, on jellyfish alone seems almost implausible. And yet the leatherback manages it by eating enormous quantities, by moving constantly through the water, tracking the drifting aggregations that form in cold, productive seas. Its throat is lined with backward-pointing spines, papillae, long and sharp, that prevents slippery prey from escaping once swallowed. The leatherback does not bite or crush, it engulfs. It opens its mouth around a jellyfish and closes it, and the spines hold everything in place while the animal swims forward to the next. What this means for the ocean is subtle but real. Jellyfish blooms, large aggregations of jellyfish that form seasonally in productive waters, can have significant effects on marine food webs. They consume zooplankton in vast quantities, competing with fish larvae and other small animals. A predator that specializes in jellyfish, that actively seeks them out across entire ocean basins, helps regulate those blooms. The leatherback, crossing the Atlantic or the Pacific in pursuit of jellyfish, is participating in a system of checks and balances that spans entire hemispheres. It follows the drift. It goes where the jellyfish go, and the jellyfish go where the currents take them, which means the leatherback, in following its food, is also following the ocean's own circulation, moving through the system the way the system itself moves. The olive ridley and Kemp's ridley are smaller, more coastal, and more generalist in their feeding than the other species. They eat a range of prey: crabs, shrimp, fish, mollusks, algae, depending on what is available in the shallow coastal and estuarine waters they favor. They are opportunists, in the best sense of the word. Animals that can shift their diet as conditions change, that do not depend on a single food source or a single habitat type. This flexibility is part of what allows them to gather in such remarkable numbers during their mass nesting events. A species that forages widely and adapts readily can sustain a large population in a way that a highly specialized feeder cannot always manage. The ridleys are, in some ways, the most generalist of the sea turtles, and that generalism has served them well. The flatback, found only in Australian waters, feeds in shallow coastal areas on soft-bodied invertebrates: sea cucumbers, soft corals, jellyfish, small crustaceans. It is the least studied of the 7 species, and its ecological role is still being understood, but the pattern holds. A turtle with a particular body, a particular beak, a particular set of preferences, moving through a particular part of the ocean and shaping it in ways that are only visible when you look at the whole system over a long enough span of time. What emerges when you consider all 7 species together is something like a division of labor, though no one arranged it and no one coordinates it. Each species has found its own niche, its own way of extracting energy from the sea, its own set of relationships with the habitats it moves through. And each of those niches, filled consistently over millions of years, has left its mark on the ocean. Seagrass beds shaped by grazing, reefs balanced by a beak that can go where nothing else can, nutrients released from hard shells onto sandy floors, jellyfish blooms tempered by a predator that crosses entire oceans to find them. The ocean, as it exists today, has been partly made by these animals doing their particular work in their particular places for longer than the human species has existed. That is not a small thing to sit with. A sea turtle feeding is quiet. It does not announce itself. It moves through its habitat with the patience of an animal that has nowhere else to be, doing what it has always done, in the way it has always done it. And in that quiet, ordinary movement, the bite of seagrass, the reach into a crevice, the slow crush of a shell, something is being maintained that the whole system depends on. The turtle does not know this. It is simply eating. But the ocean knows in the way that systems know things, not through awareness, but through consequence, through the accumulated effect of millions of small acts carried out over time. And the meadow stays green, and the reef holds its balance, and the water continues, warm and full of slow, ancient life, moving through its own long day. And for all their ocean skill, there is one task sea turtles can complete only by returning to land. The sea does not hold her eggs. It cannot. The embryos inside them need air, not water. They need warmth from above, not pressure from below. And so, after years of open ocean, after journeys that cross entire basins and back again, a female sea turtle turns toward a coastline she has not seen since the night she left it as a hatchling. She does not choose it the way we choose destinations. She is drawn to it the way a compass is drawn to a pole, not deciding exactly, but orienting. The pull is in her body, older than any thought she might have. She arrives in the dark. This is not coincidence. Night offers something day cannot. The absence of heat, the quieter surf, the reduced chance of disturbance. She lingers first at the edge of the shallows, riding the incoming swells, reading the beach from the water. What she is reading for exactly is still not fully understood. Slope, sand texture, the scent of the place, the magnetic signature she has carried in memory for decades. Whatever the signal is, it is enough. She has come back to the right beach, often, remarkably, to the stretch of sand within a few hundred meters of where she herself was born. What that fidelity means, what it costs, what it requires, is one of the quieter astonishments in the whole of sea turtle life. She waits in the surf for a long time before she moves. There is no hurry in the way she waits. She rides the waves in, retreats, rides in again. She is checking something, though we cannot say precisely what. When she finally commits, a wave lifts her forward and she begins to crawl. Her foreflippers, shaped for pulling through water, are now pulling through sand. Her rear flippers drag and push behind her. The shell that is nearly weightless in the ocean is not weightless here. On land, she carries herself fully, and the effort is visible in every stroke. She is not fast. She is not trying to be fast. She is trying to reach the dry sand above the tide line, and she will reach it however long it takes. The trail she leaves behind is unmistakable. A wide track with two parallel flipper impressions on either side, the shell's drag mark running down the center like a road. On beaches where nesting happens regularly, researchers can read these tracks the way a naturalist reads a field. Which species? How large? How recently? Which direction she went? The green turtle leaves a distinctive alternating gait. The loggerhead moves with both foreflippers swinging together. Each species writes its own signature into the sand, and the sand holds it until the tide comes in. She does not look back at the water. When she finds a place that satisfies whatever she is measuring, elevation, moisture, the temperature of the sand beneath the surface, she stops. She begins to dig with her foreflippers first, clearing loose sand from around her body. Then she shifts. Her rear flippers begin the precise work. Watching a sea turtle dig a nest is to watch something that looks both ancient and incredibly specific. She alternates rear flippers in a slow, deliberate scooping motion, pulling sand up and to the side with a cupped precision that seems almost practiced. Each scoop is careful. The nest chamber narrows as it deepens, shaped not like a straight shaft, but like a flask, wide at the bottom to hold the eggs, narrowing at the neck where the flippers work. The shape matters. It helps retain moisture. It helps maintain the temperature the embryos will need. She digs until she cannot reach any farther. The chamber may be 1/2 meter deep, sometimes more. Then she is still for a moment, her rear flippers resting at the rim of what she has made. And then the eggs begin to arrive. They come steadily in small clusters, soft and white and slightly leathery. A green turtle may lay 100 or more in a single clutch. A leatherback can lay over 80, though many of them will be small, unfertilized eggs whose purpose is not entirely clear. Perhaps to provide spacing, perhaps to maintain humidity, perhaps for reasons still being studied. The eggs do not fall so much as settle, cushioned by the sand beneath them and by each other. The whole process takes perhaps 15 minutes, and during it the female seems entirely elsewhere. Her eyes may be open, but her attention, whatever it is turned inward. She is not present in the way she was in the water. She is doing something her body knows how to do, something that does not require her watchfulness. The eggs continue, and the nest fills, and the night is quiet around her. There is something in this that resists easy description. She has crossed hundreds or thousands of miles of open ocean to arrive at this exact spot. She has hauled herself up a beach that her body was not built for. She has dug a chamber with appendages designed for swimming, and now she lays her eggs into the dark on a beach that may have no other witnesses, under a sky she cannot look up to see from where she rests. The act is both monumental and entirely ordinary to her. She has done this before. She will do it again, on this same beach, within this same nesting season, returning 2 or more times before the season closes, each nest separated from the last by roughly 2 weeks. It is not a single act. It is a season of returns. When the last egg has settled, she begins to cover the nest. Her rear flippers work again, pushing sand back into the chamber, compressing it gently, packing the surface down. Then she moves forward, swinging her foreflippers wide, scattering sand across a broader area around the nest. This is camouflage, deliberate and effective. She throws sand, drags her body forward, throws more. The site that seemed so clearly marked when she began is, by the time she is done, nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding beach. The flask-shaped chamber is sealed beneath the surface. The eggs are alone in the dark now, held by sand that is warm by day and cool by night, regulated by the earth itself. She does not stay. There is nothing more she can do. The eggs will incubate for roughly 2 months, dependent entirely on the temperature of the sand around them. On warmer beaches, they develop faster. On cooler ones, more slowly. The temperature during the middle third of incubation will determine, in most species, the sex of the hatchlings, a fact that carries its own quiet weight in a warming world. But she does not know any of this. She leaves the nest as complete as she can make it and turns back toward the water. The return journey is the same as the arrival, only in reverse. The same effort, the same slow progress, the same trail written into the sand behind her. When the first wave reaches her foreflippers, something changes in the way she moves. Not immediately, but within a few strokes, the buoyancy returns. The resistance of sand becomes the resistance of water, and she is herself again in the way that she is most fully herself. She slips beneath a wave and is gone. There is a kind of nesting that happens differently from this solitude, a mass arrival that belongs to a few species, most notably the olive ridley and Kemp's ridley sea turtles. These arrivals are called arribadas, from the Spanish word for arrival, and they are among the most unusual reproductive events in the animal world. On certain beaches in Mexico, Costa Rica, and India, female olive ridleys gather offshore in vast numbers, waiting. What they are waiting for is not fully understood. Some combination of lunar cycle, wind, current, and the presence of other females already on the beach. When the conditions align, they come ashore together. Not in a trickle, but in waves. Thousands of turtles nesting on the same stretch of sand at the same time, their tracks overlapping, their digging sometimes disturbing the nests of turtles that arrived just hours before. The scale of it is difficult to hold. A single arribada can involve tens of thousands of females across just a few nights. The beach in those hours is almost entirely covered, and yet each turtle is doing the same quiet, solitary work, finding a place, digging a chamber, laying her eggs, covering them, returning to the sea. The mass arrival does not make the act communal in any social sense. These turtles do not coordinate or cooperate. They simply arrive together, each one following the same ancient call to the same ancient shore. And the result of all those individual acts is something that looks, from above, like an extraordinary collective event. What the arribada offers, beyond its strangeness, may be a kind of safety in numbers. Any predator at the beach is overwhelmed by abundance. No single nest can be targeted when thousands are being laid simultaneously. The sheer volume of eggs may ensure that enough survive. It is an old solution, not cooperation, but coincidence deployed as strategy. The nesting season does not last long. A few months, a handful of returns to the same beach, each one the same slow journey under the same dark sky. And then the season ends, and the female returns to her feeding grounds, hundreds or thousands of miles away. She will not nest again for 2 or 3 years, sometimes longer. The ocean will hold her in the meantime, and she will graze and drift and grow and rest, accumulating the energy that the next nesting season will require. The beach will hold something of her in the meantime too. The eggs will develop in the dark, warm sand, unseen and unattended. The hatchlings will emerge in their own time, on their own night, and find the water on their own. The female's work is finished the moment she enters the surf. What happens next belongs entirely to the next generation. There is something in this arrangement that asks very little of comfort. She does not know what becomes of her eggs. She cannot know. She completes the journey, does the work her body has carried across millions of years of inheritance, and returns to the sea. Whether it is enough, whether the nest holds, whether the hatchlings find the water, whether the season was warm enough, cool enough, safe enough, none of that is hers to know. She swims back into the dark water, and the night closes behind her, and the beach is quiet again, and the eggs are there, beneath the sand, beginning their slow and patient work of becoming. From the mother's return, the story opens again into the smallest travelers of all, each one beginning with a brief crossing between sand and sea. The nest has been still for weeks. The sand above it looks undisturbed. Whatever is happening beneath the surface has been happening in darkness, in warmth, without any sign from the outside that anything is there at all. And then, one night, the sand begins to move. Not from the top, from inside. Small flippers pressing upward, dozens of them working together without any coordination that could be called deliberate. More like a collective restlessness that slowly becomes motion. The hatchlings at the top of the clutch scratch sand downward. The ones below push upward. The whole column rises like something being lifted from beneath. It can take hours, it can take days. And then, often at night when the surface has cooled enough to be survivable, the first small head appears above the sand. What follows is one of the most consequential minutes in a sea turtle's life. The hatchling emerges into a world of signals it has never experienced, and yet it reads them correctly almost every time. It orients away from the dark mass of the dune behind it and toward the lighter horizon over the water. It follows the slope of the beach downward. It does not hesitate in the way an animal might hesitate when facing something unfamiliar. It moves steadily in the right direction, as though the beach is something it has always known, which, in a sense, it has. Not from experience, from inheritance. The information was already inside it before it ever opened its eyes. That is worth sitting with for a moment. An animal that has never seen the sea, has never left its shell, has never taken a breath of open air. And yet, it knows which way to go. The knowledge is not learned. It is carried. Something in the long chain of generations that produced this particular hatchling also produced the capacity to read light and slope, and the faint pull of the Earth's magnetic field, and turn all of that into forward motion. The hatchling does not understand what it is doing. It simply does it, and doing it is enough. The crossing of the beach is brief and exhausting. The hatchling is small. Most species produce hatchlings that could fit easily in a human palm. And the sand is soft, and the distance to the water is real. Predators find this moment useful. Birds, crabs, and other animals have learned that this is when hatchlings are most exposed. Yet the timing of emergence seems calibrated to minimize the worst of this. The coolness of nighttime sand, the reduced visibility, the lower temperatures that help conserve energy. The beach is not safe, but it is less dangerous in the dark. And then the water arrives. The first wave that reaches a hatchling is not gentle. It tumbles and spins and pulls, and the hatchling responds to it with the same instinct that carries it across the sand, by swimming, hard and fast. The first hours after entering the water are among the most energetically demanding in a sea turtle's entire life. This initial burst is sometimes called the frenzy. The hatchling swims without pause, oriented offshore, driven by something that has no name in its experience, but that functions like urgency. It swims until the shallow near-shore water is behind it, and the deeper, darker sea is all around. The frenzy lasts roughly a day. Then, gradually, it subsides. What the hatchling is swimming toward without knowing it is a current. In many parts of the world where sea turtles nest, offshore currents exist that carry floating material and small animals far out into the open ocean. The North Atlantic gyre, the Kuroshio current, the systems that circle entire ocean basins, slow and vast, moving water across distances that take years to traverse. A hatchling that enters one of these systems does not navigate it. It is carried by it, the way a leaf is carried by a river, except that the river is an ocean wide, and the journey takes not days, but years. This is the beginning of the lost years, which Section 4 traced in its broad outlines. But here, the story is not about the mystery of where hatchlings go. It is about how they live once they arrive. The open ocean, at first glance, looks like emptiness. Water in every direction, sky above, nothing solid anywhere. But the surface layer of the open sea is not empty. It is threaded with structure, with lines where currents meet and surface water piles up, with mats of floating vegetation, with debris both natural and otherwise, with concentrations of small organisms that aggregate wherever floating material gathers. Sargassum, the golden brown algae that forms dense mats in the North Atlantic and elsewhere, creates something that functions like a floating forest, shelter, shade, food, and cover all in one drifting structure. A hatchling that finds a patch of sargassum has found something like a home. It rests beneath the mat when the sun is high. It forages along the edges for small crustaceans, fish eggs, and other organisms that live within the weed. It grows slowly. It is hidden from above by the mat and from below by the surface. It is not safe. Nothing in the open ocean is entirely safe. But it is safer than open water, and the difference is enough. Growth in the early years is gradual. A hatchling the size of a coin becomes a juvenile the size of a dinner plate over the course of several years. The rate depends on species, water temperature, and food availability. Green turtle hatchlings grow more slowly than loggerheads in the same conditions, partly because their eventual diet, seagrass and algae, is less calorie-dense than the animal prey that loggerheads favor. The body is already preparing, in some sense, for the life it will eventually lead, even before that life has fully begun. What the hatchling is doing during all of this is not simply surviving, it is becoming. The years spent in floating habitat are not a waiting period before real life begins. They are the years in which the nervous system is calibrated, in which the magnetic map is refined, in which the body accumulates the resources it will need to eventually make the transition back toward coastal waters. The juvenile turtle that emerges from the open ocean after several years is not the same animal that entered it. It has grown, yes, but it has also been shaped by the particular currents, temperatures, and magnetic signatures of the region it has drifted through. That shaping will matter later when the time comes to navigate. The transition from open ocean juvenile to coastal forager happens gradually and seems to be triggered by a combination of size and developmental readiness rather than any single event. At some point, a young turtle simply begins to move, not with the frenzied urgency of a hatchling entering the surf, but with the slow, directed persistence that will characterize the rest of its life. It leaves the drifting habitat. It moves toward coastal waters. It arrives eventually in a feeding ground that it may occupy for years or decades. For green turtles, this often means seagrass beds or algae-covered reefs. For loggerheads, it means the hard-bottomed foraging areas where crabs and mollusks are abundant. For hawksbills, it means reefs where sponges are plentiful. Each species, in making this transition, is moving toward the ecological role it was always going to fill. The body has been preparing. The ocean has been preparing the body. And now the two things come together in a feeding ground that the turtle will return to, season after season, for much of its adult life. That fidelity to place, the tendency to return to the same feeding grounds, the same nesting beaches, the same general region of the ocean, is one of the quieter wonders of sea turtle life. It is not dramatic, it does not announce itself, but it means that a sea turtle, once it has established a pattern, becomes part of the ecology of a specific place in a way that persists over time. The turtle that grazes a particular seagrass meadow this year will likely graze it next year and the year after, and for decades beyond that. The meadow is shaped in part by the turtle's presence. The turtle is shaped in part by the meadow's condition. They have a relationship, slow and unspoken, that unfolds across years. From a single nest, roughly 100 eggs are laid on average. Of those, some will not develop, some hatchlings will not emerge. Some will cross the beach successfully and be taken before they reach the water. Some will enter the water and not survive the frenzy. Some will reach the open ocean and not find shelter. Some will find shelter and still not survive the years of drifting. The numbers that eventually reach adulthood are small. Estimates vary, but they are consistently low. Perhaps 1 in 1,000 or fewer reaching reproductive age, depending on the species and the conditions. This might sound bleak, but it is worth considering what it actually means. It means that the ocean, over millions of years, has shaped a system in which 100 eggs are the appropriate investment for producing 1 or 2 adults. The math is not a failure. It is a calibration. The nest is not a guarantee. It is an offering to a process much larger than any individual turtle or any individual season. And the process, across time, has worked. It has worked for longer than there have been humans to observe it. It has worked through ice ages and the movement of continents and the shifting of ocean currents. The hatchlings that do not survive are not wasted. They are part of an ecosystem that consumes and transforms everything, that finds use for every small body, that turns loss into energy and energy into life. The hatchling that does survive carries all of that with it, not as weight, but as context. It is the continuation of something very old. And it moves through the water with the unhurried certainty of an animal that does not need to understand what it is doing in order to do it beautifully. The beach behind it is quiet now. The sand has settled. The nest, emptied, will slowly collapse. The season will pass. And somewhere offshore, carried by currents that have been moving since before any human being was alive to notice them, a small turtle drifts through the dark water, growing, sensing, continuing, finding its way into the long life that is waiting for it, somewhere ahead in the warm and patient sea. By now, the turtle begins to feel less like a collection of traits and more like a different way of knowing the planet. Not a lesser way, not a simpler one, just different, shaped by pressures and inheritances so old that the word ancient barely reaches them. A sea turtle does not consult anything when it navigates. There is no deliberation, no reference, no pause at a crossroads to reconsider. It moves. And in moving, it is already correct. What that correctness consists of, how it is held, where it lives, is one of the quieter mysteries in all of animal life. We have already followed the journey, thousands of miles across open ocean, returning to the same beach, sometimes the same stretch of sand across decades of absence. The fact of it is established, but the question underneath it remains open. What is actually happening inside that animal as it moves? The answer that science has slowly assembled is this: the turtle reads the earth. Not metaphorically, the planet itself, its magnetic field, the invisible lines that run from pole to pole and wrap around the globe like the seams of a sphere, is legible to a sea turtle in some direct physical way. The cells in its body respond to that field. The direction of the field, the intensity, the inclination of it, the angle at which those lines meet the surface of the Earth, which changes in measurable ways from equator to pole. A turtle can feel where it is in that grid, not as thought, as sensation. Think of what this means. There is a geometry to the planet, invisible to human eyes and almost entirely unfelt by human bodies. We know it exists because compasses respond to it, because birds use it, because the science of it has been carefully measured and mapped. But we do not feel it. We move through it without awareness, the way we move through air pressure or the faint electrical fields produced by our own hearts. The turtle does not move through it without awareness. The field is part of its world the way light is part of ours, ambient, constant, orienting. It is always there, always informing, always quietly telling the body where it stands in relation to the whole. That is a form of knowledge. It is not language. It is not memory in the way we use the word. It is something older than both. A conversation between a body and a planet, conducted entirely below the threshold of anything we might call thought. And yet, memory is also present in its way. Female sea turtles return to nest on the beaches where they were born. Not just the same coastline, not just the same general region, the same magnetic signature. The Earth's field shifts slowly over time, and studies have found that nesting populations shift with it, tracking the change, staying true to the coordinates imprinted in them as hatchlings. Something is retained across decades. Something from those first moments, the scramble down the sand, the surge of the first wave, the entry into the sea, encodes a location. Not as a memory that can be recalled, not as an image or a feeling one might return to, as a setting, as a calibration. The body learns the field of that place and carries it forward, dormant for 20 or 30 years, until the animal is ready to return. What do we call that? It is not quite memory. It is not quite instinct in the loose way we use that word. It is something the body knows without the mind having to hold it. A knowledge distributed into the cells themselves, waiting to be needed. There is a philosophical tradition that separates mind from body, that places knowing in the brain and treats the rest of the organism as a kind of vehicle. The sea turtle makes that division difficult to maintain. Where does the turtle's navigation live? Not in any single structure. It lives in the cells that respond to magnetic fields. It lives in the eyes that track the angle of light. It lives in the skin that reads water temperature and salinity, the inner ear that senses acceleration and tilt, the whole body moving through a world it is continuously measuring in ways no instrument could replicate. The knowledge is not in one place. It is distributed across the whole animal and distributed further still into the ocean itself, which provides the currents and the temperatures and the chemical gradients that a turtle follows the way we might follow a path through familiar country. The sea is not just the medium through which a turtle travels. It is part of the navigational system. The turtle and the ocean are in a continuous exchange of information, and the animal is never fully separate from the world it reads. This is what makes the word intelligence feel both right and insufficient. we tend to mean something narrow by intelligence, a capacity for novel problem solving, for flexible response, for reasoning that can be observed and tested. Sea turtles do not obviously excel by those measures. They are not quick. They are not experimental. They do not appear to deliberate. And yet they accomplish something that no human navigator managed without instruments for most of history, crossing thousands of miles of featureless ocean and arriving at a precise location reliably across a lifetime. That is not absence of intelligence. It is a different architecture of it, one that is less concentrated, less visible, less separable from the body and the world that body inhabits. A sea turtle does not solve the problem of navigation. It is, in some sense, already the solution. The knowing is built into the shape of it, the substance of it, the long inheritance of what it is. We sometimes speak of embodied knowledge, the kind a craftsperson has in their hands, the kind a musician has in their fingers, knowledge that lives below articulation and cannot easily be transferred by description. A sea turtle's entire existence is something like this. Every cell is part of what it knows. Every sense is part of how it thinks, if thinking is even the right word for a process so continuous, so distributed, so inseparable from moving through the world. The turtle does not think about the current. It is in the current, and the current is part of it, and together they are going somewhere that neither alone could reach. There is something restful in this idea, if you let it settle. We carry a great deal in language. We organize experience into words, into categories, into sequences that can be reported and remembered and examined. This is useful. It is also sometimes exhausting. The constant narration of a life, the endless translation of experience into something that can be held and explained. The turtle lives outside of that, not beneath it, not in deprivation of it, simply outside it. Its knowledge is not waiting to be put into words. It does not exist in a form that words could improve. It is already complete, already sufficient, already doing everything it needs to do. A creature that knows the planet through its body, that carries a birthplace in its cells, that reads invisible lines in the earth and follows them home across 30 years and 3,000 miles, without language, without maps, without anything we might recognize as planning, and arrives. The questions this raises do not need answers tonight. What is consciousness for an animal like this? What is it like from the inside to feel the magnetic pull of a distant beach you have not seen in decades? Is there something it is like to be a sea turtle, something felt and lived and present? Or is the process simply the process, running beneath any inner experience at all? These are not questions science has settled. They may not be questions science can settle, at least not soon, at least not cleanly. And there is a particular kind of peace available in that uncertainty, the peace of a mystery that does not need to be resolved to be beautiful. The turtle moves through its world knowing what it knows. We move through ours knowing what we know. The overlap between those two knowings is smaller than we might assume, and larger in its way than we can quite measure. The ocean holds both. The same planet orients both. The same ancient field wraps around the same globe and is felt each in its own way by everything living on it. That is enough to sit with. That is more than enough. And behind that unspoken knowing is something even larger, the patience of a lineage that has been answering the sea for an extraordinary span of time. Sea turtles have been on this planet for more than 100 million years. That number is large enough to be difficult to hold. It is easier to feel it sideways by considering what else was happening then. When the earliest ancestors of modern sea turtles were moving through warm, shallow seas, the continents were in different positions. The Atlantic Ocean was younger, narrower, still widening from a crack in older rock. Dinosaurs were alive on land. Flowering plants had only recently appeared. The world that sea turtles entered was not this one. And yet they entered it with a shape that has remained, in its essential form, recognizable ever since. That is not the same as saying they have not changed. They have. The lineage has shifted, branched, and responded to pressures across those millions of years. Species have come and gone. The sea turtles alive today are not the sea turtles of the Cretaceous. But the fundamental design, the shell, the streamlined body, the flippers adapted for open water, the return to land to nest, that architecture is ancient. It has been tested and retained across a span of time that makes all of recorded human history feel like a single afternoon. What does it mean to carry a solution that old? Not a perfect solution, not an unchanging one, but a solution that has proven itself across conditions no living thing could plan for or predict. Ice ages, mass extinctions, sea levels rising and falling by hundreds of meters. The slow drift of continents reshaping every coastline that ever existed. Across all of that, something with a shell and a need for warm sand has continued. There is a particular kind of stability in that. Not the stability of things that never move, but the stability of things that keep finding their way back. The beaches sea turtles use today are not the beaches their ancestors used. Every coastline is different now. Different shape, different latitude in some cases, different temperature and current and sand composition. The nesting grounds that existed 100 million years ago are buried, eroded, lifted into mountains, or submerged beneath hundreds of meters of water. There is no fixed place this lineage returns to. There is only the behavior, the instinct, the deep orientation toward warmth and sand, and the particular chemistry of the sea. The place changes. The returning continues. That is worth sitting with for a moment. The turtles are not loyal to a location. They are loyal to a process. And the process has outlasted every location it has ever used. Imagine, if you can, the sheer number of nesting seasons this lineage has completed. Each individual female returning to a beach, crossing the sand, laying her eggs, returning to the sea. Multiply that by every female in every generation across 100 million years. The number is beyond calculation. And each one of those journeys felt in its way like the first, guided by the same quiet knowing, carried out in the same slow and patient sequence. None of those turtles knew they were part of something so long. None of them needed to. The mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous period, 66 million years ago, ended the non-avian dinosaurs. It reshaped life on land and in the sea in ways that are still being understood. Many lineages did not survive it. Sea turtles did. The reasons are not entirely clear. Perhaps their generalist diets helped. Perhaps the ability to slow their metabolism, to wait out scarcity, gave them an edge in a world briefly made dark and cold by the aftermath of impact. Perhaps something else entirely. But they were on the other side of it. They continued. They continued through the Paleocene warming, through the Eocene, through the gradual cooling that eventually led to the Pleistocene ice ages, when sea levels dropped and coastlines shifted dramatically, and the ocean itself reorganized its currents. Through all of it, the shape persisted. The nesting season came. The hatchlings found the sea. The juveniles drifted. The adults returned. There is something almost geological about this. Geology moves on timescales that make even deep evolutionary history feel rushed. But sea turtles have been present for a significant fraction of the time since complex animal life first appeared on this planet. They are not a footnote in the history of life. They are one of its long continuous threads, and yet they do not seem ancient in the way fossils seem ancient. They are not preserved in stone. They are warm and moving and breathing right now in the same oceans that exist tonight. There is a living green turtle somewhere in the Pacific at this moment, drifting in dark water, heart beating slow, lungs holding a breath taken. At the surface, it is not a relic. It is a continuation. The solution is still running. What the fossil record shows is that the changes to the sea turtle body plan happened mostly early. The shell, the flippers, the basic proportions, these were established and then largely held. There have been variations, refinements, the appearance and disappearance of different species within the lineage. But the core answer to the question of how to live in the sea while remaining a reptile was arrived at long ago, and then trusted. Evolution did not keep searching for a better answer. The answer was good enough to keep. Good enough is a phrase that can sound like faint praise. But in evolutionary terms, good enough across 100 million years is extraordinary. It means that every major disruption the planet has offered, and the planet has offered many, has failed to make the fundamental design obsolete. The shell still works. The flippers still work. The ability to navigate by magnetic field and return to warm sand still works. The world has changed enormously around them. The turtles have changed too, in their own quieter ways. But the conversation between the design and the sea has continued without interruption. There is a coastline somewhere that has never been seen by human eyes. Some beach that existed 50 million years ago on a continent now unrecognizable, where a sea turtle, not quite like any living species, but unmistakably belonging to this lineage, crossed the sand at night and laid her eggs above the tide line. She would not have seemed strange to us if we could have watched her. She would have seemed familiar. That shape, that slowness, that patient return to the water. We would have known what she was. That familiarity across such vast time is remarkable. It suggests something about the depth at which certain solutions settle, not just into a species, but into a way of being so thoroughly tested that it becomes almost indistinguishable from the sea itself. The turtle does not merely live in the ocean. In some sense, it has become one of the ocean's long answers to the question of what can persist here. And persistence, in biology, is never passive. It requires constant response, constant adjustment, constant survival of individual lives in a world full of difficulty. Every sea turtle alive today is the product of an unbroken chain of survivors stretching back through all of that time. Not a single link in that chain failed to reproduce. Not one generation was entirely lost. Each individual lived long enough, found a mate, completed the journey, laid the eggs that eventually, through many more generations, led here. That is what the shape carries. not memory in any sense we can touch or measure, but the accumulated consequence of so much survival that it has become structural, written into the shell, written into the flippers, written into the quiet, reliable. Pull toward warm water and the particular sand of a particular beach. The turtle does not know any of this. It does not need to. The knowing is in the shape. The shape is in the sea. And the sea, patient and vast and indifferent to time in the way that only the very old can be, receives it, as it always has, as it will continue to do, long after the last light has faded from wherever you are tonight. And perhaps this is why sea turtles have always seemed to carry more than biology with them when they pass through human imagination. There is something in the way they move, not fast, not urgent, not pointed toward any particular moment with the sharp focus of a predator. They glide, they stroke, they rest between efforts in a way that looks, from the outside, like the absence of worry. And humans watching this have consistently seen something they wanted to name. The name they reach for is wisdom. It is worth sitting with that quietly, without rushing to decide whether they are right or wrong. Across cultures that had no contact with one another, sea turtles became figures of age and steadiness. In many indigenous traditions of the Pacific and North America, the turtle is the foundation of the world. Not a creature living on the earth, but the creature beneath it, holding everything up. In Hindu cosmology, a great turtle supports the elephant that supports the world. In parts of West Africa, turtles appear in stories as slow, patient beings who outlast more powerful creatures through endurance rather than force. The details differ. The feeling is the same. Something about this animal made people reach toward the same ideas independently across vast distances of ocean and time. That is not a coincidence. It is a perception. What people were perceiving, most likely, was the combination of great age and continued presence. A sea turtle looks old. Not in the sense of worn or diminished, but in the sense of having been here for a long time and showing no signs of urgency about anything. Its face, with its downward curved mouth and heavy-lidded eyes, gives an impression of equanimity, of having seen enough that nothing surprises it anymore. Of course, this is projection. We do not know what a sea turtle's expression means, or whether it means anything in the way we understand meaning. But the projection is not random. It is drawn out by something genuinely present in the animal. Its pace, its weight, its unhurried navigation of an enormous world. There is a kind of honesty in what we project. It tells us what we are looking for. Children, in particular, tend to respond to sea turtles with a certain tenderness that is different from the excitement they bring to faster or louder animals. There is something in a sea turtle that does not threaten. It does not dart away in panic. It does not bare teeth. It moves through its world with a heaviness that feels, somehow, safe. As though it has already settled every question about where it belongs and what it is doing. A child watching a sea turtle through aquarium glass will often go quiet in a way they do not go quiet for the sharks or the darting fish. They press their hands to the glass and simply watch. What they are watching, perhaps, is a kind of peace they cannot yet articulate. A creature that does not seem to be trying to be anything other than what it is. The history of human understanding of sea turtles is also, in part, a history of harm. They were harvested for centuries. their eggs, their shells, their meat, their oil. They were misunderstood and underestimated. The fact that they were ancient did not protect them from the particular speed of human change. And when people began to understand what was happening, something shifted in the relationship. Conservation efforts for sea turtles became some of the earliest and most emotionally resonant in the history of marine protection. Not because sea turtles were the most endangered species in the ocean, but because people felt something when they looked at them that made loss feel personal. That feeling is worth examining, not dismissing. When we protect something, we protect it for reasons. And the reasons are not always purely rational. Sometimes they are aesthetic. Sometimes they are cultural. Sometimes they are the feeling that a world without sea turtles would be missing something that cannot be replaced by anything faster or louder or more obviously useful. The sea turtle became, for many people, a symbol of what it meant to care about the ocean at all. What do they actually offer us beyond what we imagine? They offer something quieter than wisdom and perhaps more useful. They offer an example of a life lived at a different scale. A sea turtle does not hurry, not because it cannot, but because its entire design is oriented toward duration rather than speed. It stores energy carefully. It moves efficiently. It rests when resting is what the situation asks for. Its heart slows in cold water. Its breathing adjusts to the depth. Everything about it is calibrated toward the long run rather than the immediate moment. That is not a metaphor, it is biology. But it becomes something like a metaphor when we sit with it long enough. We live, most of us, in a world that rewards speed and urgency. That measures value in productivity and output. That tends to treat rest as something earned rather than something necessary. A sea turtle floating at the surface in warm water, eyes half closed, drifting on a current. A sea turtle does not appear to be doing this because it has earned it. It appears to be doing it because it is part of the pattern. Because the long journey requires this pause. Because the pause and the journey are the same life, not opposites. There is something restful in that, even as an observation. And then there is the scale. We have already drifted through the evolutionary time behind these animals, the oceanic distances they cross, the decades they carry quietly inside them. What that scale does, when we hold it alongside our own lives, is not make our lives feel small. Or it does not have to. It can do something gentler instead. It can make the immediate pressures of a single day feel appropriately sized. A sea turtle has been swimming across ocean basins for longer than most human civilizations have existed. The problems of this particular Tuesday are real, and they are also held within something vastly larger and slower and more patient than Tuesday. That is not a dismissal. It is a perspective, and perspective, offered gently and without argument, is one of the things the natural world does best. The question of what sea turtles experience, whether they feel something like contentment, whether the vast journeys register as difficult or simply as what life is, remains genuinely open. We have moved through that question already, and there is no need to resolve it now. What we can say is that they continue, generation after generation, across water that has changed, and shores that have changed, and climates that have shifted around them. They continue the same patient circuits, not because they have decided to persist, because persistence is what they are, and we watch them and we feel something. Not the same thing every person feels, but something in the same direction. Something like recognition across a great distance. Something like relief that they are still here. Something like the particular comfort of an ancient presence in a world that often moves too fast for comfort. The sea turtle does not know it offers this. It is simply moving through warm water, navigating by fields we cannot feel, carrying its slow heart and its ancient shell toward the next resting place. It is not performing serenity. It simply has no reason to be otherwise. And in that, it offers us something we did not know we needed until we saw it. The question of what we see in them and what that seeing says about us does not need an answer tonight. It can simply float, the way everything floats eventually, held by the water, going wherever the current takes it. Still, unhurried, enough. And now we stop knowing and simply become. The sand is behind you now. You do not look back at it. There is no looking back, not in the way that would mean something to a creature with that kind of memory. The nest is covered. The work is finished. Your rear flippers, which dug so carefully in the dark, trail behind you now as you move forward through the shallows. The water rises around you. First your foreflippers, then your shell, then the whole weight of you. And something releases. Something enormous releases. The heaviness of land is gone. You have been carrying yourself for hours. Now the sea carries you. The shallows are warm and pale. There is moonlight in the water, broken into slow-moving pieces across the sandy floor beneath you. Your foreflippers find their rhythm almost immediately. Not urgency, not escape, just the ancient mechanical ease of a body returning to the medium it was built for. The sand below is close. You can feel the texture of it without touching it. The way the water moves differently over rippled bottom than over smooth. You know this without thinking. You know it the way you know the difference between salt and fresh. The way you know the pull of a current before you enter it. You breathe at the surface once, twice. Then you settle lower and the world quiets. The shallows give way. The bottom drops. The pale sandy floor grows darker and then disappears entirely. And you are moving through open water now, the surface above you, a shifting silver ceiling, the depth below you simply dark. You are not afraid of the depth. You are of it. Your body slows its heart to something patient and unhurried. Each beat is large and slow. Each stroke of your foreflippers moves you further from the beach, further into the familiar dark. Ahead, there is nothing visible, and that is right. The night passes through you more than around you. You rest near the surface for a time still, letting the current do the work. Your shell catches it. Your weight and the water's movement find a balance that requires almost nothing from you. This is not sleep exactly, not in any way that could be named easily. It is a kind of suspension, a pause in the long sentence of the day. Your eyes are open, or mostly open, but there is little to see in the hours before dawn. Only the silver underside of the surface, only the faint blue-grey of deep water below, only the occasional small shape passing through your peripheral vision, and then gone. You breathe again. The surface is close. You rise to it without effort, take in air, and settle back. The stars are above the water, though you do not see them the way a person standing on the beach might. You sense the world's orientation in a different way. Something in your body, something older than vision, reads the planet's quiet magnetic field, the way you might feel the sun's warmth on your back. You know which way is which, not in words, not in maps, in something more direct than either of those things. The direction you need is already inside you. It has always been inside you. You do not need to consult it. You simply move, and the direction comes. Dawn arrives as a change in the water before it arrives as light. Something shifts. The surface above you brightens from black to deep blue to something almost green, and the world below you begins to take on shape again. You are further from shore now. The bottom, when you can sense it at all, is far below, and the water has changed temperature. Cooler at depth, warmer near the surface where the sun is beginning to press through. You rise into the warmth. You breathe. The air is different in the morning, cleaner somehow, lighter. Your foreflippers move in long, slow arcs. Each stroke covers more distance than it looks like it should. This is the shape of you, built to glide, built to translate effort into distance with very little wasted. The shell that seemed like a burden on land is almost invisible in the water. It does not slow you. It is simply part of the shape you make as you move through the blue. The sea around you in the morning light is full of small things, particles drifting, a pale jellyfish moving in its own slow way, trailing threads. You pass near it and feel the water change as you go by. You are not hungry yet. The day has only just begun. By mid-morning, you are feeding. The seagrass meadow finds you, or you find it, in the way that is not quite searching and not quite arriving. It is simply there, and you are in it. The blades move with the current, slow and regular, and you move among them with your beak already working. The grass comes away cleanly. It tastes of the sea, and of something green, and of sunlight stored in plant matter, and of the particular chemistry of this place, which is not quite like any other place, though it would be difficult to explain the difference. You graze slowly. There is no hurry. The meadow is wide, and the morning is long, and your body requires patience above all else. Each bite is deliberate. Each movement through the grass is measured. You do not thrash. You do not rush. You move through the meadow the way a shadow moves through a room when the sun is traveling, continuously, quietly, changing the thing you move through just slightly as you go. The seagrass will grow back. It always grows back. That is part of what you are part of. The cycle of cutting and regrowing, the meadow kept open and healthy by the slow work of your grazing. You are not separate from this place. You are one of the things that makes it what it is. The afternoon is the longest part. You move through open water between feeding and resting. The sun is high and the water is full of light, shafts of it angling down from the surface in long pale columns that shift and cross and dissolve. You move through them without noticing them particularly. Light is information here. Light tells you where the surface is, where depth begins, where the angle of the day has reached. It is not beautiful to you in the way it might be to someone watching from above. It is simply part of the world's texture. You breathe at regular intervals. Surface, air, descent. Surface, air, descent. The rhythm is so practiced, it has become indistinguishable from rest. Even moving, you are resting. Even breathing, you are conserving. Your body has learned over decades to spend as little as necessary and gain as much as possible from each motion, each breath, each degree of warmth at the surface. You are not young. You have not been young for a very long time. There are years in your shell, in your flippers, in the slow, unhurried way you move through the water. You were a hatchling once, smaller than a hand, spinning through open ocean on currents you could not have named. You drifted through years of open water, through weed lines and warm gyres and vast blue distances, growing slowly into the shape you are now. That was a long time ago. The ocean has changed around you, and you have changed within it, and you are still here, still moving, still breathing. The afternoon light begins to angle. You can feel it in the water, the warmth near the surface shifting, the light coming from a different direction now, the whole feel of the day tilting toward its end. You are not far from a place you know, not far in the way that distance means something to a creature that measures the world in currents and magnetic gradients rather than miles. The feeding ground is familiar. The temperature of the water here is familiar. The way the bottom rises gradually to your left, the way the current moves in a particular slow curve. All of it is familiar without being remembered in any way that requires words. You slow. Your strokes become less frequent. The glide between each one grows longer. You are not tired exactly, but the day is settling, and something in you settles with it. You find a resting place as the light fades, a ledge of rock, deeper than the meadow, shaded and still. The current barely moves here. You tuck your foreflippers close and let yourself settle against the rock, and the rock is cool and solid beneath you, and you are very still. Your heart slows further. Your breathing slows. The sea above you is darkening from blue to deep blue, to something that is almost the color of sleep. Small fish move past without noticing you. The water is quiet. The world is quiet. You are not waiting for anything. You are not thinking about the nest behind you, or the journey ahead, or the distance between this place and the beach where you hatched decades ago. You are not thinking in those terms. You are simply here, in the water, in the dark, in the slow and ancient rhythm of a body that has been doing this for longer than most things alive. The rock is beneath you. The sea is above you. Your heart beats once, and then again. And the ocean holds you the way it always has, without asking anything, without condition, in the vast and quiet dark. You are still. Everything grows quieter here, until what remains is not the distance traveled, but the stillness that held it all. You have been with the sea turtle a long time tonight, through warm shallows and open ocean, through moonlit sand and drifting weed lines, through the slow work of a body that has been solving the same problems: breath, direction, return, for longer than our kind has had words for any of it. What is left now is not information. It is something softer than that, a shape moving through dark water, patient, unhurried, guided by something it does not need to name. The ocean holds it the way the ocean holds everything, without preference, without condition, simply by being there. Let your jaw be soft now. Let your hands be open. If there is any weight left in your shoulders, let it settle downward into whatever is beneath you. You do not need to hold anything up. The turtle rests between strokes. It has always done this. It has crossed entire ocean basins and learned, somewhere in the long inheritance of its body, that rest is not the opposite of the journey. Rest is part of how the journey continues. You can let that be true for you as well, here, in this quiet. There is something in the sea turtle's life that resists being rushed. It matures slowly. It travels far and returns precisely. It carries no excess. It does not hurry toward anything, and it does not linger past what is needed. It simply moves at the pace the world has made available to it, and that pace is enough. It has always been enough. Your eyes are heavy? Let them be. The weight is easy. Somewhere, in warm water, a turtle is suspended between one breath and the next. Not asleep in the way you are about to sleep. Reptiles do not sleep quite that way, but still in a manner that resembles rest. Drifting slightly with the current, heart slow, limbs loose, the ocean doing the small work of holding it in place. It does not need to understand the ocean to be held by it. You do not need to understand this night to be held by it either. The body grows heavy, the breath slows. The dark behind your ears is the same dark that has always been behind closed eyes, the same dark that held the very first creatures that ever rested, ever paused, ever let the water carry them for a little while. You are part of that long line, even now, especially now. The turtle drifts, the current moves, the ocean continues in its ancient, patient way, indifferent to the hour, unaware of time, simply present in the enormous and quiet fact of itself. And you are here too, in your own still place, in your own warm dark. There is nowhere to be, nothing required. The world will continue its slow work without you for a few hours, and that is exactly as it should be. Let everything be heavy, let everything be still. Sleep well, and good night.